Sky Ocean's Wings for Hire released today or yesterday, sometime around then, and I've reached that point when you play through a game where you have to decide, am I going to continue playing that? And for me, that's been about 2 or 3 hours into my first play. And I'll throw it out there, I am not the biggest RPG gamer in the world, and this game sells itself on being a tribute back to the classic JRPG games of the past. And I have to admit, there's lots that I like about it, but there's a few things that I don't. I'll get onto those things in a moment. In Sky Oceans, you play as Glenn Windwalker, who is this young character who's got a pretty traumatic past in relation to something that happened with his dad, and we early on find out that his mum returned from some kind of expedition, of course involving flying ships, and the dad didn't come back with him, and this has released some kind of trauma upon the small town and especially his household. So of course, as a young novice pilot just getting ready to take on his own first ship, this story is going to unfold in front of you as we get a bit of a taste of the baddies, the Alliance, the people that are going to come and attack not only the town, but Glenn's family specifically. And that's where the story unfolds. I've got to say, I really like the story, and even though this is not the first RPG game that I've played that involves floating skies and flying, there's a real charisma to the characters, even though they're a bit goofy. And we're back to that good old-fashioned style of having to read the dialogue rather than using voice act. Saying that, some of the conversations are a bit disjointed, and sometimes the game story does feel like it's just throwing things in there because it kind of feels like you kind of need it. So be expecting some stereotypes, but it's a story that keeps you playing. There's 3 different main gameplay mechanics in Sky Oceans. The first being a 3D world that you sort of run around and talk to other characters within some pretty small boundaries, and this is pretty generic, straightforward stuff, although it does look quite good. There's some weird loading things, and some of the NPCs are a bit basic, so I haven't really had the need to go around and talk to anyone because they've just got 1 or 2 basic lines. This is the main way that you progress your story. You talk to the right person, you go here, you fetch something, you go there, you fetch something else. There's a lot of really simplistic kind of quests, even though they might not be called that in the game, and it does feel like it's just trying to give you a reason to have to run from one area to the other. Sometimes it's just like, go and find this person. I don't know who this person is, especially at the start of the game. Why am I finding them? What clue are you giving to me to find them? And there's no actual ways that I can talk to someone to get any hints, so I'm just running around waiting for the icon to appear at the top. The second part is these little mini flying levels, which allow you to fly through environments and see enemies around you. I really didn't like these parts of the game. The plane themselves control really poorly. It feels like you're going really slow, even though it's saying you're going quickly. You're grabbing these air currents for some reason, getting blocked. And then there are enemies around that you can shoot, but when you shoot them, what it does is it triggers the third part of the gameplay mechanic. And even though the game states you get some advantage from shooting from afar, it just feels random, like you're going from this arcadey flying rail game straight into the third part, which is turn-based battles. Now, I'm a bit of a fan for turn-based battles, so I was pretty happy to jump in and give them a go. And you can't deny that the graphics in the turn-based battles are pretty awesome. The way they get to character screen every time they attack, and the models themselves are quite nice. But what I found is that the battles themselves are pretty random, quite repetitive, and at times a bit confusing. For example, in the introductory tutorial sort of stage where you're getting your stripes as a pilot, you end up doing the same kind of fight 4 times in a row, having to defeat these monsters to get some meat. And in each battle, you can just auto-attack your way through. There's no explanation of the different stages. There's no explanation of how the AP points come back and the way you can use your abilities and how you can use different elements to your advantage, so it becomes quite confusing. Now, I know that when I read on the Steam page, there's mention of upgrading abilities and there's mention of upgrading your plane and things like that, but I'm a couple of hours in and I haven't really had to deal with anything yet. I'm leveling up. There's no real impact on me on leveling up, though I'm sure I get stronger, get more HP points or something like that, but I'm not needing to upgrade my abilities. They seem to do that themselves. I'm not really learning about my characters and the way that I can strategically use them. So it's become a bit of a just click and get through the fights, which is a bit disappointing because I feel like there is an element of tactics here, but I'm just not really getting to utilize that. Some of the enemies in your turn-based fights will just continuously heal. So it feels like a waiting game that turns a 2 or 3 minute fight into a 10-minute fight because you're just attacking them and they're healing all the damage up. You move from really easy fights to some boss that just sort of one-shots your characters, although I seem to have unlimited revives. So once again, it just felt like it was a really long fight in which I would continually heal and revive and shoot, and they would heal a bit, and eventually after 10 to 15 minutes I managed to get the win and move on. It wasn't a satisfying feeling. It didn't feel like the tactical kind of battle that was promised, and I wonder if there needs to be some tweaking in terms of the way that the actual AI fight versus you, because it just doesn't feel right. And that's probably where I sit at the moment with Sky Oceans. I love the storyline, I love the art, I love 2 out of the 3 main gameplay mechanics, I love the cutscenes, but there just seems to be things put in there that don't really make sense to me. Like developing a really good battle system, but not really making the enemy interact with you in a way that forces you to learn the ropes and forces you to utilize the different things that you have. But hey, there's still many more hours to go. I think I will still keep going. I'm curious if other people have the same ideas as me, but I'm hoping it ramps up and gets better because I really want to see where this storyline progresses, and it's definitely a lovely looking game. The music is spectacular as well. I've got a feeling that if you're an experienced JRPG lover and you've seen some really good games, you might actually be able to pick this apart even more so than me. So let me know if that describes you.